Here we go now, here we go now. You can bust them out pretty quick here. There's 2 trails here. We're just out here doing some test runs mostly. John and I right now are pretty much riding it at least once a week, sometimes twice on the downhill bike. We got a new prototype bike that we've been riding here for maybe a month now, so we're just gathering data on that thing slowly, kind of like we got a new data system, so 2 things. One, we're learning the new system, really like becoming efficient at using it like every time we ride. And then 2, obviously just like messing with suspension and the bike setup and stuff, and kind of just fine-tuning that thing and getting it as good as we can, which has been good. And then we got a couple other things we're testing out today. I've switched tires to V tires, so I don't think that's anybody officially knows that yet, so I guess we'll announce it now. So we've been on those for a little bit now, so we got a couple different models today that we're kind of going back and forth and sort of dialing in. We're already like pretty heavily involved with them on like the testing and feedback side of things on where we want to take the tires in the future. These guys direct from the owner at V, and like the top guys are like on the meetings about product development, and they're just like, whatever you need, let's do it. And since they own all their own stuff, I think all the way down to the fields where they have the plants or whatever that make the rubber, like literally start to finish, I'm pretty sure they like control everything. And it's their factory, so the turnaround can be really quick. So we're just kind of starting with all the tires they have, and they're just like, whatever you guys want, like we'll make it happen, and they're like ready to rip. So that's been a good feeling. Like they're fully committed to the process and really kind of want to become like the tire brand and downhill and stuff. Like, so it's good for me. So I'm like, okay, I can give you the feedback, make it happen.
$28, $26.
Messing around with pressures a little bit. The casings on these tires are quite a bit different, and kind of finding that you can get away with lower pressures. So me migrating 30 or less on the old rear tire is a rare sight. But we've been doing it.
Freak out.
I know. I'm like notoriously run quite a bit of pressure because I don't like to hit my rims like ever. What's off?
Sunrise tells a story.
That's the one I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
I was like, sunrise.
Yeah, that's such a good one.
Thanks, process.
Yeah. Learning everything we can about how bikes like this work and what works with them well and what doesn't, so that when we get our race bikes, we're up to speed as fast as we can. There will still be tweaks to do on that and learning to do on that bike, which we will do all that we can before the first round, and potentially at the races as well a little bit. For the athletes, they don't typically like to run stuff like this at the races. It's just one more thing to worry about. It's another mechanical piece on there that you can worry about catching on something or breaking in a crash and flopping around or something like that. And so I understand that. From the bike nerds standpoint, like if we could get a real world data race run out of an athlete, like top guy like Aaron, we just geek out on that, especially on a track like Val di Sole or something like that, something crazy, a little notoriously rough. But we probably won't get that far at that point. So yeah, it's essentially a system that helps us learn what's happening and account for more factors and make sure that the bike is balanced according to how the rider rides, and make sure the suspension's doing its job at every portion in the travel. And Aaron's super in tune with that and feels a lot of that himself. It's always hard to actually quantify that, and this helps us do that. So it's fun to learn.
First run was sweet. Yeah, track's running really good right now, so it's burned in enough to really like be a pretty good track for testing and stuff. So try not to rip the telemetry off the fork when I pick it up. Today we actually just have two different models of tires, so they're just tires that are already finalized. So they call it the snap tire, and the other one's called the attack. They're basically similar type of terrain, what they're meant for. They're different sizes, like the snap's a 2.5 and it's like a pretty proper 2.5, so it's a little bit bigger than like a lot of the tires we would normally run, which is like probably the best performing tire if you're just going off traction and feel alone that I've maybe ever ridden. But because it's so big, you do sacrifice some rolling speed, and in certain terrains, bigger on the tires is not always better. So yeah, we're just kind of, V is really wanting to make a big push in their tire development program and where we're going moving forward, which is very exciting to me. Like straight from the top down all the way to the owners are like directly involved. So we're just kind of gathering feedback on the current tires. I'm pretty happy with the tires where they are already, honestly. Like I feel like we're ready to go in Lords, and unless it rains, the mud tire is going to be pretty close to being ready for Lords, so we might be running something different there if we have to. But we've definitely got like a pretty solid plan on what we want to do and what models we want to release throughout the year, and stuff I'll be testing. So we're just kind of going through all that stuff today, and I'll just be kind of going back and forth between these two models of tires.
Pretty stoked.
This is where I almost ended my life a few years ago. The lip to this used to be like back here somehow, and he made it like a lot better now. I'm pretty in the zone at the moment. Alrighty. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Do you tire pressure?
Yep.
Getting more better. So I feel like this track's kind of made to achieve bottom out. Lots of those like drops into holes. Slow speed, like kind of like.
Well, we're looking at a few things here.
I think we're narrowing in on the coil shock settings decent for today, maybe another run or two, and then I'd like to switch back to the air and then kind of be able to compare data between the two on this trail, and then once we kind of get that sorted, then I'll probably move to the other trail, do a couple runs.
Like the accelerometer numbers are actually really good in terms of like roughness coming into the bike and into your body. We got those down.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel harsh. Like,
no.
The bike feels really smooth when you're riding it.
We're on a 450.
Yeah.
Could potentially go to a 475, but I'm like, is it just the track?
Yeah, I'd definitely be down to like, before we change it too much, if it's getting close, I could do another run, make some tweaks, and then I can go to the air.
Do you want to do the stock?
Yeah.
Okay. With a bit of a spoon.
Here.
What's that?
Here's a tire iron.
Just wipe it off.
Well, the question is, did you wipe it off last time? The answer would be no. That thing's definitely not sterile. It's alright. Dirt don't hurt. What are we at now?
208.
I've been wanting to test out some other shoes because I've been on Giro for a long time and I really like them. And so I'm just curious to see how the comp's stacking up. And it's the only contract I don't have done right now. And I've been kind of looking to see if I can make some gains in equipment this year. And I find that kind of the easiest way to do that is just to try other stuff. I think I kind of already know which one I'm gonna like better, but I mean the shoe is the same. One's just lighter. Yeah, this one's just kind of like, this is the new one, so I think, so it's like the upgraded, like nicer materials. Whereas this one's like the OG. Shoe test. A little more float so far.
We will download every run after each run when we're running it. That way we can make changes for the next run or look and see what it's doing for a specific track. So one of my goals is to potentially just change the way we do our setup on the bike. In the past, and this method has worked very well, and we get a good base setting on an air shock and a coil shock, and then the fork, and we take those base settings to the World Cups, and we don't deviate from them much more than a few clicks or you know, pressure changes or a spring change potentially. But which is good, you know, it keeps the focus on going fast and winning races. So I'm just learning to see if that's a better method, or if do we set it up per track at every track, and there's just a you know, a better setting that works for the track than the base setting. So I just work here, man. Tell me what to do.
No, it's all good. It's just kind of basically switching from the snap tire to the attack tire. I'm gonna leave the rear on because I really like the rear. I really like those snap 2.5s, like I had said earlier. But they're proper 2.5s, like they're pretty big, and the front one, the 2.9er, is actually a little wider than the 2.75 on the rear. So we'll see. Depending on the track, I think you can run those because they give you so much grip and they like work so good in the rough stuff that I think it'll be an awesome tire. But when you get to some of the flatter tracks, like maybe Fort William, or especially like Leogang if it's dry, kind of probably need something that's going to roll a little better and be a little narrower. So that's kind of like the feedback I'm giving to V right now, as we're kind of working on maybe developing another tire that's going to slot into the range, and then just messing with some of the widths and stuff like that to figure everything out. So I'd say the combo that I'll run like at Lord's will either be, if it's dry, probably the 2.5 front and rear, because I think it's a good combo in those conditions. But if it's a little bit like a little stickier maybe, then probably run this on the front, and then if it's muddy, then obviously we'll run mud. So up and down this rough stuff,
And go bloop, bloop.
and then down in that steep thing. Braking hard through here, and it's pretty rough.
Yeah.
It's like one of those sections that's steppy enough that if the bike's not dialed in, you can get some serious like dive out of the fork. It's like rougher, but it's slower. Yeah, it's a good day, man. Got it pretty much exactly what we wanted to. We were messing with tires, messed with shoes a little bit too. Had a couple other things, but for the most part, like kind of for me, the two biggest things are like deciding kind of between coil and air shock, like kind of finalizing my mind on that, and then just kind of probably gonna stick with one moving forward. Because they're both really good. They both just are a little bit different, you know, so kind of figure out which one I want to stick with. And then on the tires, like I messed around with like this rear tire, the snap like front and rear, and then the attack on the front with the snap on the rear, and kind of just confirmed like the options that I like the best for like moving into that first World Cup, especially if it's dry. So yeah, man, mission accomplished. Good day.